Welcome back to the Planet Wrestling Podcast, part 2 of episode 1. Today we're talking about SmackDown, AEW. So let's just jump right into it because we're going to have a lot to talk about. We're just pretty much continuation. You know who we are. You know what we're talking about. Let's jump into it. SmackDown review, man, of last week's. So the ongoing feud right now, or storyline that's been going on with Roman Reigns as the tribal chief, Paul Heyman, of course, as his manager, Jimmy and Jey Uso reunited, and it's been kind of one of those things where I believe it was Jey Uso who was the right-hand man, right? Is it Jey?
Yeah, because Jimmy got hurt, right?
Yeah.
So Jey Uso's been the right-hand man of Roman Reigns as of late, takes all the beatings, takes all all the things and whatnot. Jimmy comes back, is not having it. Kind of wants to get the Usos back to win another tag team championship, and just not having any Roman Reigns shit. And this week, they had a tag team title match against the Mysterios, Rey and Dominic Mysterio, the first ever father-son tag team champions. Man, that's historical right there too. But we had this match here, and of course, Roman Reigns came out and said, after the match is over, if you guys win the titles, bring them to me. So he's pretty much demanding that the tag team titles are going to be his too as well. So the Mysterios, they fought the Mysterios. They retained the championships. All in all, though, I'm really digging this storyline with the whole head of the table and everything. And I think it's finally given fans the opportunity to finally properly boo Roman Reigns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you actually do hate the guy now because he is a heel. And it's just fun to watch. I think he plays a really good bad guy. And going back to the Shield days, I mean, when he first, debuted in the Shield, he was a bad guy. And then they went babyface, and then he kept the face for a long time. And then when he returned again after his long absence during COVID, he came back as this heel character, the head of the table, the tribal chief, kind of embracing his heritage, his ethnicity, if you will, of him being the Samoan wrestler growing up in the legacy of Samoan wrestling in WWE. So he's kind of carrying on the legacy, trying to be that new kind of face of Samoan wrestling in WWE. What do you guys think about this whole kind of storyline between the Usos, Reigns, them trying to get the titles? Jimmy wants to take Jey with him to go do their own thing, but Roman's trying to see what's best for them and whatnot. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I've always been a fan of Roman. Like, everybody hated him, and I thought it was weird because it was the same kind of situation as John Cena, but I didn't attach to him. I didn't relate to him as much.
Right.
Roman's kind of become like almost anti John Cena, where it's like it wasn't as the goody two shoes face,
right?
But he was shoved down people's throats as a face so much that they booed him. It was the get off my screen kind of heat. And now it's kind of gone the other way, where he turned into this heel who's, when you get down to it, not that different from how he was. He's wrestles more aggressively than he was when he first went solo. But it's one of those things where it's like you want to hate him, but for me, I still I find it hard to dislike the character the way I should, because it's he backs it up. When you look at it from a storyline perspective, he's walking the walk. He walks in, he destroys people, and most of the time he's not he's not a Weasley. It's not like Seth Rollins was.
Yeah.
He's not relying on Heyman. Heyman's literally just there to be the mouthpiece, and Reigns does all the work in the ring. So I'm loving it. He's had a pretty long run already now, so I like this stuff now, especially now with Jimmy adding a different level to the relationship between the Usos and Reigns and the family, and all of that, like now there's so much more layers with Jimmy kind of being with the program, but he's still like not with the program. Like I like it. I really do.
Well, I feel like like you were saying with Jimmy and Jay, I think Jimmy like is going with the program, but at the same time he's like, how the brothers like the Usos first kind of thing, day one and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So I like how they're doing that. I'm one of those people who just wasn't a fan of Roman Reigns. I didn't like the way they were booking him earlier. His early days with the Shield, his early run. I always saw him as someone who I wouldn't say babyface or heel, but one of those tweeners where he could be either or, and I didn't think they were using him, well, at least in my opinion, I didn't think they were using him to his fullest potential as far as like a character. I feel like in WWE it's always got to be, well, you're a good guy or a bad guy, and I think
Mhm.
now Roman Reigns is he's taking on that hill persona, but like you were saying, he really hasn't changed much as far as the way he presents himself. I think he's gotten better on the mic because he was horrible at the very beginning. And
Yeah.
not saying Heyman kind of covers up for that a little bit, but the talent is Roman Reigns, and I think that goes to show as far as what Paul Heyman can do for someone, because now I even see to where Roman wasn't so good on the mic. I think with the confidence that Paul Heyman backing him up, I think that's kind of allowed him to be a little more confident. And you can see it when Roman Reigns talks, he's more confident in what he's saying as opposed to earlier on where he kind of fumbled over his words, and you could see him like in it, you could visibly see him in his head, kind of like, okay, this is my line. I got to say this next. And you could see him thinking about what was going to come out of his mouth, where I think now it's just more natural, more of him. His personality is kind of shining through. So I like that. I like the way he's being used now. As far as the Usos and Reigns, I like the walking on kind of eggshells you get with them. I think there's going to be some kind of turn. I don't know if it's going to be both Usos, against Roman Reigns, or maybe Roman's going to get one of the Usos to come over with him. But I'm waiting for that to happen. I think their storylines is having a good build up for something to happen. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I was a huge Shield fan when they debuted, even when they were heel. I love that faction. It was really cool. They went for all the titles that they Rollins and Reigns were tag team titles champs at one point. Ambrose was the United States champion.
Yep.
And I think even after when they went solo, they all can hold themselves both in ring, on the mic, and everything. So it was cool to see them kind of do their own thing. I have to say, though, the one thing I did not like, and it's more, I think because Vince is just a fan of this family and just that, he was giving Reigns opportunity after opportunity. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it kind of, after a while, story-wise, it just gets old and repetitive, and you're just like, I want something new.
Well, the potential was there,
Yeah,
and they were trying to capture what they knew he was capable of, but they were doing it the wrong way for the time.
right. Yeah. And it goes to show right now, obviously he's with, Paul Heyman, and Daniel Bryan, like, before WrestleMania had a good point. Was it Bryan, or if it was another, or Kevin Owens? I can't remember. I think it was Bryan or Cesaro that said that every person Paul Heyman touches, they do least amount of work and carry titles for long. You guys remember that promo? It was on a episode, I think, of Talking Smack, their talk show afterwards. But
Yeah.
it's like everyone Heyman's with. It's like they do the least amount of work. They show up at pay-per-views, defend the title, repeat. You know what I mean? So I'm seeing that with Roman, but at least with Roman, he's there every week on SmackDown, and he doesn't fight matches, but he'll interfere and beat up people and kind of advance the storyline. So I am liking the new Roman Reigns as they're kind of depicting him right now. And I do think I've always been a big Paul Heyman fan. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not only his in-ring capability of talking, but the way he manages the ECW days. You know, I love listening to podcasts of him just telling stories. The guy's got like tons of stories. So the guy, if there's one guy I would love to, yeah, I mean, if there's one guy, if we ever make it, if this podcast ever blows up in the future, that's one guy I would love to have on the show just to talk about the early ECW days and all that stuff. But I really do like what they're doing now. I'm really they got my attention really big time with the brother versus brother thing, where Jay is kind of like, I'm the head of the, you know, I'm the right hand man, but that's my brother, and you know he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place right there, where Jimmy's like, come on, dude, let's do this, let's do it how we were, and Jimmy's not taking any shit from Roman, and Roman's trying to be devil's advocate, where it's like, well, you stay with me, you won't be the brother that people will go, oh, which one are you again, you know? So it's cool to see that. I thought what really kind of heightened the drama between that storyline though was after the match between the Mysterios when they retained. Roman came out, or I don't know if they got another opportunity the same night or if it was after the match, came out and beat the shit out of the Dominic Mysterio, and was trying to put him in check, which was interesting because, you know, Jimmy's trying to do everything legit. He wants to do everything on his terms, and he's trying to be legit, but Roman's kind of interfering with the whole head of the family, you know, head of the table thing. So it's interesting to see where this is going to go, and it keeps me tuning into SmackDown every week to see how the story's going to progress and whatnot.
Yeah.
What's up? Okay. I'll text you my order. So it's interesting to see every week that this progresses and this, you know, it happens and whatnot. So yeah, what do you guys think overall though of where we're going to take this? Are we eventually going to see a match between the Usos and Reigns? Are we going to see eventually Jimmy fall in line, or what's going to happen? Where do you guys think this is going to go?
I don't think it's going to be both of them. I mean, I think they're both going to turn, but I think it's going to end up with Jay versus Roman.
Oh,
I think that's
a rematch.
And Jimmy in his corner, but I don't think it's going to be a true, like, you know, handicap match or something. I think it's just going to be, you know, they're going to go back to tagging fully, and it's going to be Jay breaking off from Roman. It might even not even be Jay necessarily turning on Roman, but like Roman kicks him out, and it becomes like a battle for the, you know, the family, you know, that sort of thing, the respect of the family, and it's Jay and Roman, maybe a gimmick match of some kind, like a cage match or Helens. It might even be like, they could even do a like ladder match. I don't know what they'd put on it.
I'd even say like a last man standing match or something, like,
yeah,
it's like a power. You know, you got to keep your man down for the 10 seconds. But knowing just this, and this just popped in my head, just I think it maybe they're all, I think you're right. Jay's probably gonna fight Roman, but I think it might be something along the lines of like, okay, Roman's like, hey, we're gonna fight. I beat you. You know, you're my man. You're cut. That, you know, tag team is over. You're with me, and that's it. And if you win, you do your tag team thing and no repercussions, kind of thing. I feel like they might go along those lines. You know, just popped in my head right now.
I could see that. Yeah.
Speaking of the Shield, man, another ongoing feud that's been happening on SmackDown is Seth Rollins with Cesaro. Now, as we know, in the last couple weeks, Cesaro's been trying to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title. I think he did have one fight at the most recent pay-per-view they had and lost. Yeah. He didn't come through. But he still wants that title. He still really wants to go after it. Of course, he is on injury right now. And last week, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, Seth did a blindside Cesaro with an attack as he was calling out Roman. But Seth Rollins did have an interview with Kayla this last week, and she asked, like, so what was that all about? What's going on? pretty much Seth Rollins says he doesn't really have to answer anything about that. He's going to do his own thing. I want to talk a little bit about this whole Seth Rollins gimmick that he started pre-pandemic, going into the pandemic now and currently. He started as, of course, the Monday Night Messiah. Now he's known as the SmackDown Savior. What do you guys think about this whole Seth Rollins gimmick? I mean, it feels a little off to me when I see it. It doesn't feel like Seth Rollins.
I wasn't sold on it originally, but it gives me and I know I've seen people compare it to him, but it gives me very strong Joseph Seed vibes from Far Cry. Was that Far Cry 5?
Yeah, the cult.
Yeah, the cult.
Yeah,
and when they were going all in on that, and it was a little reminiscent of the Straight Edge Society, but it was much more his own thing. It wasn't like quite so Charles Manson cult. It was more like cult of personality, more like Jim Jones, I guess.
Right.
Which is a little dark, but it was like that very like well-spoken, very charismatic. I was like, okay, like when they started leaning into that with the feud with Mysterio and everything, I was like, all right, I'm sold on this. And it never, my only problem with it is it never really felt like it had a proper payoff at all. Like, kind of did with Murphy, and they kind of split them and everything. But I felt like it had so much more possibilities, so much more potential if he had Murphy, and Murphy was like his like
disciple or something.
Yeah. And if they had done what I know it's mostly because Vince hates stables. If they had added like at least one or two more people to it, just to give it that like really that cult, like really cult feel, it would have been way different than any other cult gimmick that's been done. At least to me, it would have felt different,
right?
And it would have been a nice change. Plus, it would have, you have more options that way. Teaming different people up for these people going after the tag titles, and these people are just like there's so many more options. But I mean, they're still sort of. It's like it's the same gimmick, but it's like the diet version right now.
Right.
I think I'm kind of, I don't have like like I like it, I don't like it with Seth Rollins. It's just more of a thing. I honestly just feel like the gimmick is okay, but part of, especially like when it's kind of like you're saying, like a cult, and you need a couple people. I feel like with Seth Rollins specifically, I don't think they've actually built a counterpart to him. If you notice, like when they do stuff like this, there's usually like you get a strong counterpart to go against this faction. Like you're saying, Vince hates the factions. But if you're gonna go, because that's that's the vibe Seth Rollins is giving out, kind of like a cult leader, and I think he's the gimmick works, but he's missing a dancing partner. And they've kind of had him feud with a few people, but nothing that kind of lasted, and nothing that was kind of prolonged and that lasted months or anything like that, where it was like an actual feud. I feel like they've just kind of like switched out this person to this person, and this team to this team. So I just think that it works, but he needs someone to go with him as far as an opponent who's kind of the polar opposite of what he is doing.
Right.
Yeah. I do think that, I mean, if nothing else, just for the match quality alone, that Cesaro is the best, the closest he's had in quite a while since starting the whole Monday Night Messiah and all that stuff.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, I know in the beginning of that kind of gimmick, it was up against the Mysterios and that whole family. So it was good in the beginning, and then I was just kind of over it. I was just like, all right, let's move on. I'm kind of,
I gotta say, my brother and I were joking when they had the like like whatever the stipulation, like eye out match or whatever, the loser loses an eye match basically. My brother and I are like, there's no way they're gonna actually do it, and like, to WWE's credit, they went all in on that and actually had him lose an eye,
and he was even wearing the mask with like the one eye covered for the longest.
I was like, wow, they actually did it. Like, it's kind of dumb, but like at the same time, like, I'm a sucker for that stupid shit, like the was it the Something of Horrors match in WCW where Abdullah the Butcher got electric chaired. Like, I love that. And like the Japanese, like the piranha death matches where it's like the piranhas didn't fucking bite him. Like, they had actual piranhas. They didn't do anything, but it's like scary. It's gnarly. It's like
when they buried Paul Bear in concrete, Yeah. That's a throwback right there, but
I love all that.
I still get very nightmarish imagery when like I think about like Jake the Snake holding the Cobra against like I think it was Macho Man where he's like biting his bicep. I still that's just like that. No, thank you.
You want to see a funny Jake the Snake moment? It was when they did an old school Raw. And he brought the snake out, and they put it on Ambrose, and his fucking face. You could tell he was terrified, and he was trying to like play it off, but he like couldn't at the same time. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Up into the road of Hell in a Cell, which again we are 3 weeks away from that. Bianca Belair, one of my favorite in-ring talents right now. She really is proving that she is who she says she is. She won that SmackDown Women's Championship back at WrestleMania, and a new era of NXT just kind of took over with all these amazing, talented women becoming champions. You got Raquel Gonzalez as the NXT Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley as the Raw Women's Champion, and Bianca Belair as the SmackDown Women's Champion. All three of these women came up together. So it was cool to see this week that Bianca Belair actually challenged Bayley for a title shot at Hell in a Cell, because she's just kind of fed up with all her bullshit and stuff. But Bayley is definitely an interesting one. I remember when she arrived on the scene with the whole hugging gimmick and whatnot and all that, and then like she changed her gimmick real quick to be a more kind of sinister character, a heel character, and she has definitely been she really played the whole mind games thing this week. When Bianca Belair called her out, she responded via satellite. And then she took over the entire Thunderdome with her faces all around everything, laughing and whatnot. What do we think about this match going into Hell in a Cell? I mean, these two have been kind of going at it for some time now, and it's been really good. They prove in ring that they can match one another. What do we think this is going to go after Hell in a Cell, going towards Hell in a Cell even?
Well, I like Bianca Belair. At first, I didn't have any strong opinion one way or the other when I first, like, the first few times seen her in NXT and stuff. I was like, I mean, she's good, but just nothing about her gimmick caught me. But the way they presented her the last like year or two, and I've become a fan of her and her in ring. I mean, she was already good, but her in ring work and like just her the strength, like she doesn't look like she's not like super jacked looking, but the feats of strength. I mean, it's kind of like Cesaro. Like, there's just like she has this raw strength that's like ridiculous, like press slamming Bayley and walking up the ring steps and throwing her back in. I was like, oh shit! Like, you don't see guys doing that.
Yeah.
Like, that was, I was like, okay. And that match was solid.
Right.
And I've been a Bayley fan for a while. I kind of, originally I thought she was going to be kind of like Cena and never go heel. Because she didn't really need to. She just had her thing, and she wasn't, I think it was smart, because I don't think she would have gotten back into the spotlight how she has if it wasn't for that. I don't think it's like Cena where he only really became that kind of a face after he was already all the way at the top.
Yeah.
So he didn't need to change it because he didn't ever leave that spotlight. Hers, she would have been mid card and just stuck there. So I've liked how, and I like how she's evolved it from just being kind of a dick to like delusional,
Right.
and like how she was at the Rumble, how she was like constantly like just interjecting in all the like segments and like interrupting,
Yeah.
like okay, this is entertaining. I like this.
Yeah. She also did that at Mania this past year too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was on day 1, right?
Both days, I believe, because I remember she
Both
had I think she had a thing with the Bellas as well, because they were inducted to the Hall of Fame. I remember that. So
she had through the whole weekend. That's right.
yeah, I think she was actually like one of the hosts or something like that, or
shouldn't I think trying to be?
Yeah, she was trying to interfere as a host because it was Titus and Hulk Hogan.
Because she wasn't on the card or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, I mean, she like she's taken and added a new dimension to the same character. So she's still a heel, the same heel, but it's a different side of it, of like less like just dark, less of a just jerk character, and more of a like it's almost Joker-esque, like, to me.
Right.
Where it's very like unhinged, but not like wacky.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's I've been enjoying that program. I haven't been watching it as closely as other ones, but I mean, I'm both of them are great. So I mean,
right.
Well, I mean, again, I like Becky. When she first her turn, again, I think she just needed time to kind of sink her teeth into it, which is normal when you're playing, a face for so long. But I think she's settled into it pretty well. I do like how she is not just going dark, but it's like dark and sinister, but with like a hint of it's almost like she's an understanding bully kind of thing, where it's weird to explain, but I think she's doing it really well. And Bianca is just I wasn't, as far as before, like NXT and stuff, I really didn't watch her too much. I seen her, I didn't really pay too much attention to her, but more so kind of after Mania when she won, I was just like, oh, okay, like she can go. And one thing, you mentioned the power, and obviously the power is there. It's just I didn't realize how, I would say, athletic she was. Because you see these girls, and sometimes they look like they're not athletic, or they not so much that they can't go, but they kind of surprise you. And she's a wrestler where I was just like, oh, like when I seen her wrestle, like when she was given a chance, I was just like, oh wow, like I'm really impressed, because I did not expect that from her. And so I like how she's carrying herself as a champion. I think she's doing a really good job. So and their feud, I think, is going to be pretty good. They both can go. So and when you get two wrestlers who can do a great job in the ring, more times than not, you're gonna get a good match. So I think both of them will do a good job together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. These two really have a good chemistry in the ring where they could put on a really good match. And I'm excited to see what happens at Hell in a Cell. Hopefully, like I keep saying, hopefully this match is inside the cell. That'd be interesting to see.
I think it should be. Like, I really think that. I think any of the big, like the main titles, like the women's titles, the heavyweight title, and universal title, like the tag titles, you can kind of get away without doing it.
Right.
But I like all the big ones like that. I personally feel should be at this point.
Right. Staying on the women's division, obviously, Carmella picked up a good victory over Liv Morgan. Now it's ironic because Liv Morgan is the only one left of the Riot Squad still in WWE, which I would have thought not that she's a bad talent or anything, but they, WWE didn't use her too much for a little bit, and then she came back at like this kind of this weird gimmick where like she was like cheating on, or she was like with Lana before when they got married, or what was, I don't remember what it was. It was something with Lana. I thought like a while back, and like all this stuff, but she's the only one left. Sarah Logan, first one was to leave. And then now Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, they must have big plans for her or something because she's still in it. But Carmella, ever since she returned with her new gimmick, has been trying to dominate, the women's division. And I can see, honestly, if she keeps going the way she's going, she'll get a title shot pretty soon and enter the title picture pretty soon. Especially if Bianca Belair is still champion after Hell in a Cell. I can definitely see them two rivalry for if Money in the Bank happens in July, or if we're going to wait till August for SummerSlam. I could definitely see something happening with them two. So yeah, it should be good. Liv Morgan, don't know what they'll do with her. I'm personally a fan of hers. I really do like her kind of. She kind of reminds me of like a Harley Quinn type character, where she just goes out there and kind of she plays like that. She can play crazy if she wants to, but she'll go out there and get the job done, which I really like and respect Liv Morgan for that. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with those two. Not much to really report on that match, but this is a one I really want to talk about, and this has been kind of going on for about a month or so now. The whole King Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura thing, with Shinsuke taking the crown and running around and thinking he's king. Well, King Corbin this past week defeated Shinsuke, but afterwards, Shinsuke has like a partner now that rolls around with him, and he was distracting Corbin, and Shinsuke hit him with his finisher, knocked him out, took the crown back again. So I don't even know what they're doing with Baron Corbin anymore, because we haven't had a King of the Ring tournament in a while. And
right, it's been 2 years.
3 years? So he's been king for like 2 years now. So I don't even know what's going on with that anymore. But the whole Shinsuke and King Corbin thing is just hilarious to me at this point. Like, what do you guys think about it?
I fucking love Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah,
I didn't really see much. I had heard his name a little bit here and there when he was still with New Japan, but it was only really at the tail end that I really heard about him. And then it was announced that he was coming to WWE, and I was like, okay, cool. And by that point, I'd started to see more of his stuff. I'm like, dude, this guy's fucking awesome. I love strong style wrestling. So not even the fact that he's called, King of Strong Style and all that. It was just I watched his shit, and it was so snug and looked so good. It looked hard hitting, but you could tell it was safe.
Right.
It didn't look sloppy. I was like, dude, this guy is amazing. Have they booked him the best? Ever since he left, got called up to the main roster. It's kind of been up and down.
Right.
It still pains me to this day that they botched his for his WrestleMania moment so badly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even minded him losing, but at least in a decent I felt like that was not good booking the way they booked that.
Yeah.
This current thing, I that was one of the few segments I watched. I didn't watch the match in full, but I watched the segments around it, and I was like, okay, the whole partner thing's a little, but it's cool that he's got a live, every time he has a live intro,
right,
it makes it just, there's something about having that live guitar playing him in that's just adds to his whole aura.
Right.
So I'm about it. I like Baron Corbin. I don't care what anybody says. The only time I didn't care for him was when he was the authority figure, but that's because it's really hard to do authority figures well.
Yeah.
And he kind of had X-Pac heat. for me at least.
I mean, he's a great heel though. Like, I can't see him as a face because he's just does such a good job as being a bad guy.
He's a great heel, and people don't give him enough credit for how good he is in the ring.
Right.
He's not Shinsuke Nakamura, but he can hang with Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
You know, that's how he's a good, solid hand in the ring, and that's just as important.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm curious where they take it. As long as they don't do anything too wacky with it, or like, just as long as it doesn't get off the tracks.
Yeah.
Good. Go ahead.
Oh no, I think that, and this is something I'm trying to think of. It's not that. I think what they're doing right now is they don't have anything for these guys, and I think Shinsuke is upper echelon of wrestling. Barrett, and this is nothing against Barrett. Not Barrett. I don't know. Corbin. He reminds me, like, some of his style reminds me of
Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett. There you go. Some of his style, like the way he throws elbows and stuff like that, he reminds me of Wade Barrett. So I always get them. I got it in my head. But Corbin, I think, is a solid, like, middle to, like, right below that upper echelon of wrestler, and you need those guys. You need mid card guys because not everyone's gonna be, oh, this guy's the main eventer. Not everyone's gonna be that. And I think Corbin is an excellent wrestler. He's a solid. He looks like he can fight. Like, so I like him. He's a good solid mid carder. And I think right now with this whole crown thing, I think it's just they don't have a title for either of them to kind of go for. And not even saying that they would give Baron Corbin a title, but Shinsuke, he can be in the title hunt anytime they want to, and he can prove that he belongs there. But I think right now this is just something, give them something both to do for right now until they figure out maybe after SummerSlam, or maybe even after Hell in a Cell, when different storylines start to kind of end, or maybe pave a way a different way. So, but I enjoy both of them. I think they both can go. So as far as the in-ring stuff, I'm okay with it.
Definitely. Now, the one match that was pretty much the only, or the second title defense of the night, which the Intercontinental Championship, Apollo Crews versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, for starters, I have to say, has been my favorite since he arrived on the scene in the main roster, even in his NXT days and whatnot. Always been my favorite. I always thought it was badass where he just, John Cena, issued that U.S. Open challenge, and he answered it, but he didn't even really fight. He just kind of made his presence known. But I've always loved Kevin Owens, even as a heel. I've loved Kevin Owens, and I love what they're doing with him now. Apollo Crews defeats Kevin Owens, obviously. His bodyguard, which was another person that was in the Raw Underground. Yes, we didn't forget about Raw Underground. Is now his kind of new kind of, his I don't know, what do they call him? Like a general or something? I don't even.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's like some bodyguard or whatever. He attacks Kevin Owens before the match as he's getting ready to come out, and he's already kind of beat up. And then Apollo Crews goes in and just kind of gets the job done, causing Kevin Owens to lose and not gain the Intercontinental Championship. But what was the shocker is, because we really haven't seen him since, I believe, after WrestleMania, was Sami Zayn coming in, hitting the haluva kick to KO, starting a new feud. Obviously, we know these guys. They grew up together. They came in the business together. They have great chemistry together. When you put those two in a ring together, they can deliver an amazing match. I'm excited to see where that rivalry goes, because I think he's going to take his sights off the Intercontinental Championship for a little bit to take care of Sami Zayn. And I think we're going to see a good fight in our hands, man, because, you got Sami Zayn, great wrestler, great talent. We got Kevin Owens, another great wrestler. I really brought back the stunner, which I was really happy when he brought that back. It's one of my favorite finishers. And I'm excited to see where this goes, this rivalry goes, because we've seen it in the past, NXT, where Sami Zayn was the face, Kevin Owens was the heel. He literally almost ended his career with that whole pop-up powerbomb onto the mat. That was what Kevin Owens was famous for at the time.
Yep.
So they had a good rivalry back in NXT. We have not seen a rivalry between the two since NXT. Now is a perfect time because now the roles are reversed, and I would love to see them have a match at Hell in a Cell. Hell, even inside the cell. I think that's a Hell in a Cell match worthy right there. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this rivalry, man? I mean, we're sparking up the flame again. What do you guys think?
Well, they've been touching on it. I think it was it just before WrestleMania?
Right.
An event like a month or two before WrestleMania, where like with the whole Logan Paul and everything, and Kevin Owens kind of got injected into that and stunned Logan Paul and all that. So I like,
which by the way was the greatest thing ever.
Yes. Yes.
I'm still stand by. I was impressed with Logan Paul through all that. He didn't come off poorly, and he actually added to it instead of taking away from it.
Right.
He didn't make it all about himself. It was credit where credit is due. But like, I mean, it's kind of like The Rock and Stone Cold with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I don't think that there's ever going to, it's going to be a long time before we ever get a solid, like, this rivalry is over for good.
Right.
And I mean, there's no reason to. I mean, they still put on fucking bangers every time they I mean, even just when it's like the Rumble, like during the Rumble, there's that moment, that inevitable moment where they see each other across the ring and it's just hockey punches.
Yeah.
Like,
I love those, by the way, too. Those are always my favorite.
It looks so nice. I can't think of anyone who does something like that better than they do, because it always looks so brutal, always looks so like crisp, and it's just anything those two do. Like, would I like to see either of them in a title, like holding a title again? Yeah, but I mean, it's not always about the titles for what matters in wrestling. So.
Exactly. I think, and you make a really good point there. I mean, titles, yeah, they look cool, and they're when the person deserves them and has them, good for them. But I'd rather see a really, really solid match than a really shitty match for a title. You know what I mean? Like, and knowing them too, they can put on that solid match where they don't even need a title in the picture. They can just straight up have a fight, and it will be entertaining because those two have great in-ring chemistry. Like I said, they grew up together. They got in NXT together. They made it to the main roster together. They've been together for about nearly 20 years because they've been wrestling in the indies for about 10 years before they made it to NXT. Mm-hmm. So those two have great in-ring chemistry, and you don't, like I said, you don't need a title to make it interesting. Those two can carry on a match together.
Like you, Anthony, I always have a hard time calling him Kevin Owens because I just want to call him Kevin Steen.
Right.
I love the dude. I was lucky enough to meet this guy, and he was nothing but nice. And I've got to see him, and when it was him and El Generico fight each other. So I have, and it goes back to, like, when you grow up with wrestlers, you tend to just kind of attach to them, and to see them in the position they are at now is awesome. Like, the success that they're both having. I think when you were speaking about those punches, like, you're right. Like, no one throws those punches and makes it look so violent, but like, they're controlled and they know what they're doing. But they just look so real and so violent, and that just comes from the 20 years that they put in together. And I love watching these guys go. You throw them any match, and they're gonna pull the best out of each other. So And even you're talking about Apollo Crews. I'm trying to remember. He was like called Hoo-Ha Nation or something like that. I feel like I've seen this guy go too. He's an amazing wrestler. It's just cool to see all these guys that you kind of grew up with in WWE. When I was younger, I'm kind of older now, but when I was a lot younger, and I see them, I was like, man, like it'd be cool, so cool to watch them in WWE. And then fast forward, 10 years later, they're there, and they're still doing what they do best, and they still pulling the best out of each other. And specifically for Zayn and Kevin, I think if you want a solid 5-star match, I feel like there's no two better guys to put in the ring and say, give me the best you got, and they're gonna blow the roof off the building. So in these two guys, I trust to give us a great match.
Now, here's something funny. Rob just mentioned age. Out of these two, I'm probably the tallest. But out of these two, I'm also the youngest.
Yes.
So, when they say they've been around the block a couple times, they really have. But
we have.
I've been to the tower a couple times. So, nonetheless, though, I really like the Apollo Crews gimmick. To me is, I mean, I don't care for it, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me. So it's not like something I'm gonna rant about. But I hope it goes somewhere where it actually kind of it ends somewhere and it has like a good ending. But it's whatever's to me. But I'm really excited more on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. These two.
I do want to see more of his bodyguard. Whatever his name is.
He was great in Underground, dude. I loved when he fought in Raw Underground. And he went up against freaking AJ Styles and what is his name, Omo. They went up against each other a couple times, and that was a cool fight. I would love to see a fight between them two again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, or even a dominant tag team right there. I'm just saying. So
that would be.
WWE programming this week was interesting to say the least. It was a lot of fun. And that's saying a lot because sometimes there's weeks it bores me. But it looks like they're trying to kind of get that momentum going heading towards SummerSlam, which is, of course, their second biggest event of the year. But let's swap companies, man. The company that I'm absolutely falling in love with right now, and that's just due to the fact that it's back to the Attitude Era, it feels like, and they know how to book. They know how to keep the stories going.
They've really.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say they've really fallen into their stride finally.
Yeah. AEW, man. AEW, All Elite Wrestling. So everyone knows that as of right now. Anyway, All Elite Wrestling, man. They lately they've been doing Friday nights because of the NBA playoffs. So they've been doing Friday nights, which has been actually capitalizing on their end since they're going to be premiering a new show on August 13th. Great birthday gift, by the way. Thank you, AEW. August 13th, they were promoting AEW Rampage, which is going to be a good time. So they're going to have 3 shows now because one of them they have on YouTube, AEW Dark. 4 shows, actually, because they have AEW Dark, AEW Dark Evolution. I believe that's what it's called.
Elevation.
And AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite and Friday Night Rampage. So it's looking pretty good. I mean, the 2 of them are on YouTube, 2 of them are on TNT. But a lot has happened. A lot has happened within the last week. Let's go over the Double or Nothing card. First off, NWA Women's World Championship was the buy-in, so that was the pre-show. Serena Deb defeated Riho. What do we think about these two right here? Anybody know?
I haven't seen much of Riho. I know I've seen a little bit, and she's good. I like Serena Deeb. I liked Serena Deeb when she was in the Straight Edge Society. I actually got to meet her.
That's right. She was the buzzed hair, huh?
Yeah. I got to meet her. I think it was a couple of years after she left, I think, or like a year after she left WWE.
Right.
She is super cool, and she is super good. And it's funny is the day I met her. I met I think it was at the time at least Luke Gallows' wife.
Okay.
Because he was, it was like 2 years after she was released, because he was in Japan, I believe, by that point.
Right. Was he doing like a lot of the? He was doing. He was also part of the.
Or no, he was in Japan. He was still in TNA.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
So I met Serena Deeb, Gallows' wife, and I don't think most people probably would know who they are unless they're into deathmatch wrestling. But Supreme and BC Killer, all on the same day.
Wow.
Which like mind blowing for me. I'll get into the Supreme stuff, but like later when I talk about the show I went to. But she was super cool, and like there was no like, oh, I was in WWE, so I'm better than anyone. Like, she was super chill.
Yeah.
And she was great in the ring because it was like a private taping thing. I know that she had taken a few years off, but I've watched some of her more recent stuff, not like super recent. And I heard that it was a good match. I heard her current, like, I think it was like heel-ish. She's not a full heel, if I read correctly.
Right.
But I've heard really good things about it. I haven't been watching the NWA stuff too much.
Well, that goes back to say we talked about that on yesterday's first part about how AEW is just kind of letting other companies come in and out. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, NWA has been around for years, like years. It's like it's been around for a while. I think a lot of early WWF people came from NWA. Like,
oh yeah,
and that's what kind of sparked that whole thing, you know. So you got a lot of like the veterans that came from there, you know, who were champions of that company. Yeah,
even TNA or Impact now.
Yeah,
was NWA originally. You got a bunch of NWA affiliates still.
Yeah.
And they kind of when TNA split from them, it kind of like shrank their visibility.
Right.
So you had like, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona were still affiliates, at least for a while. I don't know if they still are, but they just they shrunk a lot. So I know that Billy Corgan had bought them. I think he's still the owner. And he was like trying to build the brand back up, and for them to be able to be showcased on something like AEW, which is such a growing name in the business. And, I mean, it's the direct, it's impossible not to consider it the direct competitor to WWE at this point. Right. Impact's been around longer, but AEW is way more visible.
Yeah. So she was actually, she was champion, and she defeated and retained against Rio. And so that was really cool. I mean, I have to say AEW's buy-ins, a lot of these pre-matches are usually like horrible matches. AEW's buy-ins I've never been disappointed with. They put on quality matches, and they really want people to invest. Like, okay, if you like that match, wait till you see what we have on the actual card. You know what I mean? So it's a good way to get people in to buy it. Rob, what do you think, man?
Well, actually, I did not get to check these ladies out. So, but they sound like I should watch them. So leave it at that.
Plain and simple, man.
Plain and simple.
The first match, obviously, of the main card, Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. A good kind of rivalry we've been seeing on AEW in the last couple weeks. Hangman Page, one of my favorites. Guy drinks beer and then goes and wrestles. Like, if it was that simple, man, I would be in freaking wrestling right now, drinking beer and going out to wrestle. And Brian Cage, obviously, he's with Taz right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still with Taz.
Team Taz and all that. So that's been an interesting to see Taz back in wrestling again too. I mean, I was a huge Taz fan in the ECW days. Yeah.
I almost got the name Taz.
Yeah.
because I had the Warhawk, the shaved
Okay.
the like super low mohawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I buddies almost gave me that.
I mean, Hangman Page and Brian Cage, man, that's a match made in heaven right there. You know, that's a good match right there. Hangman ended up defeating Brian Cage. Again, I didn't see this pay-per-view. I read a lot of the results and whatnot. I heard this was you saw a few.
Yeah, I've seen a few clips here and there, some of it.
Yeah, I mean, from what I read, everyone said this was a solid match. This was a good back and forth, and
I'm sure it was. I mean, Adam Page is a fucking solid worker.
right.
He's very old. He's a perfect blend of old school and new school. He reminds me of Terry Funk's, like the classic like Western gimmicks.
Yeah,
but like with the new like indie style blended in.
Yeah. What about you?
And Brian Cage is a fucking monster. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of the Hangman. I have a shirt right over there in my closet with the Hangman noose on it.
Nice.
And Brian Cage. Okay, so I'm a big fan of this guy just because I've got to watch him kind of grow over the years. Dude lives, I think, in Reseda over here in California, somewhere, or Montclair, out down that way.
Right.
I'm saying that like you guys know where that way is. But him and his wife Melissa, they go to this pre-pandemic. They're bar wrestling. They were always there. I got to watch this dude wrestle all the time. So I'm a big fan of this guy, and to see him over in AEW, just kind of doing his thing, what he was doing over there. Now taking it to AEW, I'm super happy for this guy. I think he has developed into a powerhouse wrestler, and he's good. I think he's athletic enough to stand out a little bit. So these two guys together, I can only imagine that they would put on a good to great match.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing I like about AEW. You brought up, indie shows and whatnot. AEW gives their wrestlers freedom to go to those things and perform at those places, because the way AEW looks at it, that's promotion for them. You know what I mean? You're going to see like Brian Cage at like an indie show here in Los Angeles, and then boom, you're going to be like, oh, Brian Cage, AEW. Now, then it's going to motivate you to want to go watch AEW and keep watching him and whatnot. So for them teaming up with other companies, for them letting their wrestlers kind of have that freedom to go wrestle wherever they want, they're not just tied down to one company. It really is awesome to see that, because if you are a fan of them in the indies, you don't get to quite see them a lot because AEW right now is kind of just basing out of Florida. But if you are a fan of the indies and then they come back to do a show to kind of, in a way, thank the fans for kind of getting to where they are today, it's really cool to see that, because you get to experience them. Like Rob said, he saw them pre-AEW. Now he's seen them in AEW. And it's cool to see all that kind of stuff. But I'm a huge fan of what AEW is doing with this kind of crossing over thing. It's really, like I said, it's motivated me to pay attention more to indie wrestling even more now. So, and I think it's really opening up a wider audience. Whoever watches AEW to go check out the indie. Oh, well, the Good Brothers are on Impact. Maybe I should go see what they're doing on Impact. You know what I mean? So,
yep,
it's a lot of fun. AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Young Bucks. Rampage rocking the Young Bucks. Rampage, you've actually met one of the Young Bucks, or both of them.
I met Matt.
You met Matt at Disneyland, wasn't it?
Disneyland, of all places.
Awesome. Of all places.
So, that was right in the middle of the Bullet Club Civil War.
Tell the story. I love hearing it, but for the people who haven't heard it, Rampage actually met Matt at Disneyland. Tell the story.
I told it on when we were doing the podcast with Freak for Nights of Horror.
Yeah.
So I was at Disneyland by myself. I was just a solo day. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Disneyland for a few hours, have dinner, whatever, just chill. And I mean, this was 2016, 2017. Yeah. I forget when the Bullet Club Civil War was. But so I'm wearing I only had one Bullet Club shirt at that point. It was just the regular Bullet Club shirt. And I was walking through from Frontierland to, I think I was going to Fantasyland, but I was cutting through the like Princess Fair thing that they have there.
Right.
And I'm walking, and this dude goes, "Hey, nice shirt." And I know what shirt I'm wearing, so I'm like, "Oh," I go to Too Sweetum, and I'm like 20 feet away, and I'm getting closer, and I'm like, "Why does that shirt he's wearing look familiar?" I'm like, I can't quite pinpoint it. And I'm getting closer, and like I'm literally like this far away, and I get like this far away, and I realize it's a Cody Rhodes shirt. Because it was the Cody Rhodes shirt that kind of looked like the American Choppers, like just the way it was laid out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But trying to look like the American Choppers. But I was like, because that was what I was saying. It's like, why would I recognize American Choppers? Like, I don't watch that show. Like, I've watched it, but like, I don't watch it.
Yeah.
I get like this close. I'm like I get literally to about here, and I realize it's Matt Jackson. I'm like, oh shit, you're. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, can I get a picture? He's like, yeah, no problem. And like, I was just gonna take a selfie, and he was there with his wife and daughter, or I think it's daughter.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I'll take the picture for him." I'm like, "Oh yeah, great, sure."
Nice.
Awesome.
So she takes a picture, and it was funny because I had literally, 2 days maybe earlier, like it was very recently at that point. Been talking with Evil, the former captain of the QM Sliders, because he's a wrestler, and it was just before. Yeah, it was just before the New Japan shows in Long Beach,
Right?
And we were talking about how crazy it was to see what everything they're doing, and because he literally their first matches, or at least I think it was Matt's first matches, after getting trained, were he wrestled with him. Like, Evil wrestled like Scorpio Sky when he first got trained.
Nice.
I'll send a link to some of the YouTube videos I've found, because there's a channel that has all these old. It was Bill Anderson's IWC out in Riverside.
Okay.
And like Evil tagged with TJ Perkins when he was like Pinoy Boy or something like that. And we had literally been talking about how like crazy it was. Like he started, like when they broke in, like he had already been around for a couple of years wrestling in all these local indies. And so WPW in Anaheim, World Power Wrestling, I think is the full name.
Yeah.
But they're a lucha. They do a lot of the lucha, or used to do a lot of the lucha shows. Like they were the ones who were the promotion that ran the lucha shows at the Orange County Fair. So we were talking about how crazy it was that he had started with them, and now they're in New Japan and Bullet Club, and all this shit that like not 10 years ago they were like barely nobody knew who they even were.
Right.
And he actually worked them when nobody knew who they were. I'm like, yeah, I was just talking with my friend, like he wrestled you, he's a wrestler, he wrestled you guys like when he first started. He's like, oh, what's his name? I was like, oh, Lee Steele. And he's like, oh yeah, Lee, tell him I said hi. Like, how's he doing? I'm like, such a trip. And then it was funny because I tweeted it. Like, I tweeted the picture out, and I had like, fuck, God, I can't even so many fucking retweets. Like my feed, like I posted while I was at Disneyland, and I just started getting notifications, and I screen recorded it because I was just like scroll. Because the crazy thing was Matt retweeted it. I think Nick retweeted it also, but then Cody retweeted it.
Nice.
And reacted. So then like everybody saw that and it was just like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
Dude, that's awesome,
they're
man.
super nice guys.
Yeah, they seem like really cool guys, even though right now they're kind of going like a different, like are they? I think they're going heel right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're full heel. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's something new from the Bucks, something fresh. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's something that you haven't seen yet, and now you're seeing this, and they've kind of always been like the whole, the brothers thing and everything. So I'm really enjoying that so far. But Bucks had a match with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, a tag team that I've really been liking recently too.
Yeah.
It seems like Eddie Kingston just matches Moxie's craziness, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously
Super.
they lost that match, but still overall great match, and I hope we see more of these two tag teams because it really, they have great chemistry, Moxley and Kingston, and the Bucks always put on a fucking phenomenal show, whether they're wrestling individually or they're wrestling most of the time it's tag team. But I mean, it's much like the Usos. This is one tag team you won't see probably break up anytime soon because they just have that chemistry.
Here's the thing with the Bucks. I might cry because I'm emotional when it comes to the Young Bucks. I love them. Again, I like their heel turn and I like what they're doing now, but it's because I've seen it before. I've seen them as jerks, and they do it so well. The guys are still, you talk to them outside the ring, they're amazing. I've had the privilege to meet both of them. They're both amazing dudes. And they're super nice, but in the ring and the way they perform, I like when they're heels. I like when they're jerks, and they're probably, in my opinion, when it comes to fluidity in the ring and kind of double team spots, they're the best. There's the Young Bucks and then there's everyone else. At least in my opinion, for the longest time they're my favorite tag team. Now for the longest time they were number 2, Red Dragon, back when they were together, which was Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. I love them. I thought they were the best. I actually got to see both of them, the Young Bucks and Red Dragon, fight each other, but I digress. The Young Bucks are amazing. I love them. I think they do an amazing job. Like you said, Anthony, singles or doubles. Singles or tag teams. They both, just the way they move in the ring. These guys are the epitome of what professional wrestling is. I love watching them go. And as far as Moxley and Kingston, I think you're right. They found I guess I would say someone to match Moxley, and I think that's gonna make for a good in-ring working, and even outside the ring as far as promos and stuff like that. I think they do a great job. So to have them feud, I think is going to be amazing. I would like to see it in some type of maybe like a ladder match or something, but I think this feud needs to be like an all-out brawl, and I think it will be amazing.
Listen, all I'm saying is this now. Since we're doing this podcast, we're going to have pay-per-view parties now. Because I'm even talking about even potentially doing a live stream if we get big enough to react live with everything, give our thoughts right then and there. We can all go in, chip in for an AEW pay-per-view. Because that's probably the only one we'd have to pay for. Everyone here, I'm pretty sure, has Peacock. So, I mean, we can always just watch a wrestling WWE pay-per-view on Zoom together and do that. But for AEW, I mean, I'm down to start pitching in to get those pay-per-views, man, because those are some good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, tag team wrestling in AEW is really strong. Very strong.
Yeah.
They did do a good job of making sure. I mean, they have a lot of talent that's come in that are still probably potentially going to be coming in, and they know how to book everything right. Now, It goes to show this because Cody Rhodes' dad, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, was a great booker back in the day. His dad knew how to fucking do that with his eyes closed. You know what I mean? Like, this guy knew how to book. So it doesn't surprise me that Cody, being involved with this company, being the VP and all this, is taking, his dad's footsteps and has the genes of doing all this. I'm pretty sure he's not the only one doing it, but he's probably one of the big say-sos in the company because this is his baby. This is something that after wrestling the indies, he's like, we need to start our own company. We need to start a company where it could be whatever we want, our terms, great storylines, great matches. We have the talent, we have the people. Let's get it going. And I'll go out and say this. A big part of that was Chris Jericho, too. Chris Jericho was really the one that, when they had him on board to promote it, you knew people were going to come because it was Jericho. You could put Jericho in any position, heel, face, on the mic. It doesn't matter. He's one of the best to ever pick up a mic and talk and even go out there and wrestle. The guy's been doing it since WCW was around, probably even before that. He had a run in New Japan.
Oh yeah.
Prior to that, then went to WCW, then went to WWF. Had his run there for a while, then went back to New Japan to really strike up that interest in indie wrestling again. And from there, AEW was born. So it's been fun to watch not only the Bucks come up, but it was this pay-per-view exactly that Jon Moxley debuted, and that was a big shock to the wrestling world after he just left WWE, like not even a month in, and he freaking joins AEW in a shock, and beats the shit out of. Yeah, that was one of my favorite, and I go back and watch it on YouTube all the time because him coming in, beating the shit out of Jericho, then you think he's gonna be cool with fucking Kenny Omega, then beats the shit out of Kenny Omega. They go at it. That was really cool, and then that match leading up to Kenny Omega versus Moxley, that was such a fantastic match. WWE really took a toll when they let go of Moxley, man, or they couldn't come to terms with the contract. You know what I mean? They really did. And Moxley is proving what he can do now in AEW. One of my favorite things about Double or Nothing, the Casino Battle Royale. This was a big shock, man, because I've actually been keeping tabs on this guy, and he's one of my favorites. Jungle Boy actually won the Casino Battle Royale, earning a future AEW World Championship match. Currently, the champ is Kenny Omega. So what do we think about Jungle Boy possibly become a new AEW champion?
I don't know if he's gonna win it, but I do. I mean, I like Jungle Boy, so him and Kenny Omega could put on a hell of a show because there's still that slight. It's not as big a gap as some people, but there is a little bit of a size gap. But they're both so good in the ring that even though Kenny isn't big and Jungle Boy isn't it's not like the Giant versus Rey Mysterio or something, or Kevin Nash versus Rey Mysterio.
Right.
That size difference is there.
Yeah.
So that and they're both high flyers. So the size difference plus them being high flyers has the potential to be a hell of a match and really gnarly. There's going to be some gnarly bumps and gnarly dives in that, I have a feeling.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, I'm also a fan of Jungle Boy. Again, got to see him wrestle before he got to AEW. I think he looks tiny in person, but you get close to him, he's not as small as he looks on TV. I feel like he's got a little more muscle to him, and I think Kenny Omega is just like the dude. I think Jungle Boy can wrestle. Let me say that Jungle Boy can wrestle, but I think Kenny Omega, even if Jungle Boy couldn't wrestle, Kenny Omega would pull a great match out of him because that's just how talented Kenny Omega is. But I think both these guys have the style where, like you were saying, they're both high flyers. I think they're gonna be some good spots. I'm expecting something crazy to happen if and when this match happens. We don't know, Kenny's going to keep the title for how long, but when they decide to put this match on, I expect something crazy to happen in this match because I know Kenny Omega will put it all out there and he'll go flying, and so will Jungle Boy. So I'd be excited to watch this match.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a fun time. I'm really looking forward to it. And you did mention high flying, so can expect a lot of these two. Should be a lot of fun.
I've never been able to high fly, so to see other people do it is amazing.
And as for the Battle Royal too, though, how about Leo Rush?
Right, dude, that was a shocker too, wasn't it?
Crazy.
It's like I felt like he was not used as well when he was with was he with WWE, wasn't he?
Yeah,
for a little bit. He wasn't used to his full potential.
Well, early on he used okay.
Yeah.
And when he was in, he was fine. It became one of those weird catch-22s where he was like, I did really like him as the manager of Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
Mainly because he was still wrestling occasionally. It's kind of like MVP. But he kind of did that to himself too, though.
Yeah.
because he caught I forget exactly what he did or what he said. He did or said something that caught him a whole bunch of heat. And then, I mean, you get too much heat with and he got heat with everybody from what I remember.
Right.
And like, I mean, it sucks, but you tank yourself. Like,
He's got a
I
new
think he
beginning
just
right
wanted
here in
to be gone.
AEW, though, man. I mean, I think it's going to be a bright future for that kid.
Oh, yeah.
If he keeps up with it.
He's great in the ring, though.
Cody Rhodes versus, I think I'm going to butcher this last name, Anthony Ogogo. Is that his name? Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like on the damn thing. Ogogo, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a go-go.
Cody Rhodes, man. For a guy who is part owner of this company, right? Easily could put himself in a fucking title match anytime he wants to. But he chooses not to because he knows there's other talents out there that can actually carry that title way better than he can. And I know early on he had a match, I think it was with Jericho. If he lost, he would never challenge for the AEW championship again. And I think he did that early on purpose because he knew how much talent was going to be coming in. He knew how much of a success this was going to be, and he knows that he doesn't need a title to prove that he's good.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes from WWE till now, I wasn't a big fan of him in WWE. I'm going to be honest.
I was like kind of neither here nor there earlier on. When he was Cody Rhodes, well, actually, I'll take it back.
I wasn't a fan of Stardust.
See, I loved Stardust. See, Stardust for me was like that same kind of like it had its purpose.
Okay.
Right.
And I think where they really dropped the ball, like it made sense when he was like teamed with Goldust and Goldust was trying to make him like the new Goldust. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then him not wanting to be Goldust and not, okay, that whole thing was great. Yeah. Like to me, it was just good telling because they're brothers. There's that age gap, and he obviously wants to be out of his brother's shadow, but still retain. I mean, it's still Stardust. It's still the character. Okay, that's cool. What they really dropped the ball on was when they put him with and I love them to death, the Ascension, because they were booking them so badly already, and they had no idea how to use the potential. Like when they got called up, there was so much potential for them to be unique and be more like the Brood and mysterious and like I think if they had called them up now or more recently, rather, around the same time that Aleister Black was around, I think that those three could have had a hell of a run because they had similar looks, similar aesthetics, that dark, like vaguely like esoteric, dark magic, satanic, whatever you want to call it, occult style. And they just didn't know what to do with it at the time. They're like, and then they tried to make them the new Legion of Doom and tried to do that, but then buried them at the same time. It was like, It was just all over the place. And when you already have that attached to you and you don't pull them back far enough to really fully like make something new of themselves, and you just throw Stardust with them, it was like it got buried on SmackDown and nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
Like those of us who liked them gave a shit, but it was like, the ball was already rolling in the wrong direction at that point.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes, though, in WWE, he had a good start run. And then when they brought his brother back and they kind of won the titles and everything, that was a cool run. Stardust was to me. But when he went to the Indies after he was let go.
Let's just say Stardust was Stardust.
Yeah. when he went to the Indies and had his Bullet Club run, Villain Club and all that stuff, you know what I mean? That was a lot of fun. I was like, this is the full potential of this kid. And he went on to do great things, won titles, had great matches, and then it was come time to start AEW. And
got bad tattoos.
You don't like his tattoos?
No, it's not that bad. Like, it was bad at first, but now that it's kind of like faded,
Yeah.
like into what it's supposed to look like, it's all right.
Started AEW All In. That was the first pay-per-view, the first thing of AEW. And then it was months later that they finally launched AEW Dynamite. And I was like, okay, I can get on board with this. I like what they're doing. I like what they have. They're bringing all the indie guys up. They're showing them, they're giving them the proper respect and spotlight they deserve after all these years of working for it. And seeing Cody Rhodes come back and kind of just have this, this career after WWE, I think it just made him a stronger person, a stronger wrestler, and he really is showing his potential now. And he really can prove that I don't need a title to be the guy. I can be the guy without a title. And I know he was TNT champion for a long time, and that was kind of his loophole around the whole AEW World Heavyweight Championship, but it still worked out good. Had a good time watching him, and I still continue to have a good time watching him when he fights. So I look forward to seeing what he does later on in the future.
I think and you guys kind of touched on it. Just that shows the mindset of Cody Rhodes is that he's already kind of put it out there that he's not taking shine away from other wrestlers, that he first and foremost wants to put shine on other wrestlers because he knows the talent, like you were saying. I got to meet Cody Rhodes some years back when he was ROH champion, and he was doing like the whole kiss the ring thing. And he let me hold the title, the Ring of Honor title. He let me hold it. I was so happy. But the dude, like I want to say maybe like a 3-minute to 5-minute conversation with the guy. So you can see his heart for wrestling, and he was so thankful for pretty much like he at no point did I ever get like a hint of arrogance from the guy. Everything was all about other people, the fans. He was just kept saying like, I thank you guys, the fans, you guys making this happen. And this was, I think, right after WWE had, they kind of parted ways, and he was just, you could see the gratefulness in him for, kind of, I guess, getting away from that and getting to kind of spread his wings and do his own thing in the indie scene. And you see that with AEW, and just how you can see how he's putting other guys first. The way he works is he's always been able to go, coming from, the lineage of his family, you would expect nothing less. And I think he is excelling and doing his family proud. Him and his brother both, I think they're both, for whenever you want to say about Goldust or Dustin, I feel like people kind of always put him to the side because, you got the American Dream, and then Cody. I feel like Dustin is one of the better wrestlers, like just pure wrestler. And I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think, with everyone just kind of focusing on Cody, I feel like Dustin sometimes takes a back seat, and that's just how he is. I think, Phil, like personally, he might just be like, as my brother, but I feel like Dustin's, a better wrestler. That's not to say anything negative about Cody, but I think Dustin deserves a little more credit, and he's getting it. I feel like finally now, after all these years, getting out of that Goldust gimmick, I think that in AEW he's getting his chance to shine. So I like how, they're with the Rhodes brothers. I like what they're doing. Cody, I mean, the guy is amazing. He can talk, he can wrestle, and you just see his heart for the business. So I'm all for it. He puts the business first and puts others first. So I mean, you can't go wrong doing that.
Yeah.
The thing about Dustin too is he's got what? She's 15 years on Cody.
Yeah.
So he's got that. It's Cody's finally starting to get the experience, because I think that's what a lot of it just boils down to.
Right.
Is just that experience of knowing what works, knowing what doesn't, testing. You look at even after Cody left WWE, all the stuff that all the different it was all the same gimmick basically, but it was all different like sides of it, and he had to
Right.
cut off what wasn't quite right for which audience and all that stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that he didn't get a chance to learn in WWE because you're so put in this box there, and they have their place, and I'm not saying anything negative about WWE because I enjoy their product they put on, but it is in a certain box where I think you're right. He I think got out and started trimming the fat off of what he thinks, oh, maybe this works, maybe this doesn't work. So he's hitting his stride and doing a good job.
I mean, even Dustin is, when you look at his gimmick now compared to like the Natural and Dustin Rhodes and Goldust and all these different gimmicks he's had, and he kind of takes different little things from it, and then now he's put, I mean, he still has the Goldust style
Right.
makeup, and the bodysuit is kind of Goldust style, but it's not, and he changed the color scheme so it's different. Like even I mean, I think that's one of the things about the Rhodes in general is that they've always been cognizant. I think they got that from Dusty, cognizant of not just going, okay, this kind of works, so we're just gonna stick with it.
Right.
Always adding those things that they've learned in the past and like putting little elements and taking feedback from the fans, especially now in social media.
Yeah.
Being able to hear tweets and go ask. I mean, I saw not too long ago, I can't remember which show it was before. It was sometime, I think, late last year. Dustin had tweeted out, like, give me inspirations for makeup. And he took a fan suggestion and it looked cool. And he took it and made it, obviously a more detailed version, but took the basic idea and ran with it. And I think that's the big thing about both of them is that they have done that.
Yeah. It's been cool to see them both come up and both work together. And you got to love also the enforcer, Arn Anderson, man. I mean, that guy, back in the day, man, great wrestler. Now he's helping out. I think he's just as big of a booker, too, with Cody and them behind the scenes, I mean, because he ran with Vince back in the day and all that. Right. So he knows exactly how behind the scenes of a show runs. Yep. Especially of a major corporation. So when I saw Arn Anderson join that team, I was like, oh, this is aimed for success then. You know what I mean? TNT Championship. Our boy, the Mr. Yes Man himself, Miro versus Lance Archer. Miro retained the title. That was a shock to me when Miro came onto the scene for AEW. Same thing like Moxley. About a month later, Rusev let go from WWE. Miro debuts on AEW. I'm expecting the same thing to happen to Lana pretty soon because they're married and they can figure something in with them too. But
yeah,
what are we thinking of Miro and Lance Archer as of late, man?
I like Lance Archer. I like his in-ring. I didn't see how their chemistry. I don't think I even saw clips of that one. I think that one got skipped over. But I like Miro. I like he's got great charisma. He's a really good blend of power and technical. Like he kind of reminds me of what I've seen of Bruiser Brody.
Okay.
Just like less hardcore,
right?
But like that general, like just maybe a little less brawling too. But like just like he's a striker. Like he's got everything he needs to be a success for a long time, especially because he's not that old.
Right.
I know Lance Archer's been around for a little bit longer, but I liked his work in Japan. I've liked what he's done. I loved that he's with Jake the Snake. So
yeah, dude, Jake the Snake. I mean, I little side note real quick though. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have watched everything with Jake the Snake, but big props to DDP, man. He saved his life, dude. He did. DDP Yoga, man. I mean, I've heard such great things about DDP Yoga, dude, and for DDP to take in Jake the Snake when he was at his lowest point in his life and pretty much save his life with yoga and sobering him up and everything, and he's been sober ever since. Dude, DDP is such a sweetheart for doing that, man.
Yeah.
Dude, he's done an incredible thing making that system. I mean, not just and the crazy thing is how many wrestlers, not even like in the situations that like Scott Hall and Jake Roberts were in with the addiction, just how many people like physically that you don't hear talked about. Like, I mean, AJ Styles has credited DDP Yoga for, adding to the longevity of his career.
Yeah.
Jericho, like, I mean, some of these guys who, like, you see them performing, like, you see these, like, if you look for them, you can find them, the testimonials that like, I know I've seen for sure, Jericho's, where he's talking about like how he couldn't, like, physically couldn't do certain things, not even in the ring. Like, he would just power through it in the ring, but like outside the ring, he couldn't like do this or bend over this way and like all this stuff, or he, and was in all this pain. And DDP Yoga basically, saved his career. I was like,
yeah,
you don't hear that very much, but DDP
it's
crazy.
Especially when you take DDP, who had a phenomenal career and is a former wrestler, and for him to kind of incorporate what he knew wrestlers were going through, what all this stuff, to incorporate that into exercises so he can keep those wrestlers who want to keep going, and even past wrestlers who are having problems because of past in-ring performances, to keep them going, to keep them healthy. He kind of mixed that world of wrestling and yoga and put it together so not only can everyone enjoy it, but also wrestlers who are still going or who have, like I said, who have already went, can keep their health intact and they can live longer and do things still. So DDP knew what he was doing when he started that. You know what I mean?
He really did.
Yeah.
He made yoga cool.
He did. He really did.
I mean, he made it accessible.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And he's got his app, he's got his DVDs you can order, he's got the website, he
his
really
marketing is notch.
Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing it on Shark Tank in the back in the day. He like promoted that Shark Tank, and I don't think anyone invested into it, but then it blew up.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like he DDP Yoga grew to where it is. I mean, he did obviously market it, but a lot of the marketing was just like letting the results speak for themselves, like having people do testimony, like people like Chris Jericho, where they're renowned around the world. They're pretty solid household name in a lot of the cases, at least in the wrestling world. And, they make videos saying, hey, this works. Like, that's all you need. When you have enough people with big enough names saying this works, and this is what, like, this is how it worked for me. And then on top of that, you have the cases like Scott Hall and Jake Roberts, where it's not just the results, but seeing that he's not just in this to make money. He's not it's not just a cash grab because he's a former wrestler and needs the money. He cares about what his product is. Like, that sells itself. Like, I mean, that's alone, and I'm sure probably over half of how his company and product has grown to where it is.
Yeah. It's been nuts to see that grow. But back to AEW, got to power through this because I know time is on the essence. Britt Baker, new AEW Women's Champion, dude. I'm gonna butcher this name right now, so bear with me. Hikaru Shida. Did I get that right? Hikaru.
Not too bad. Hikaru. Yeah.
Hikaru Shida. Anyone knows me, I'm bad with names, so.
No,
AEW.
You're getting them, though.
I'm getting them. I'm learning. AEW Women's World Champion. This was a big one. A lot of people were celebrating this one. I'm sorry, Dr. Britt Baker, should I say?
Yes, you
gotta give her the doctor credit, man.
Yes, yes.
Is that legit, by the way, or is that just a gimmick?
That is legit.
That is legit. Okay.
That is legit.
I thought it was just a gimmick, but that's legit. Wow.
I follow her on Instagram, and she is a dentist, so she is a doctor. Yes.
Wow, good for her. She's got a fall plan in case wrestling didn't work out. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
So she's good to go. She'll make money either way.
Well, I mean, she's married to Adam Cole, isn't she?
I think so.
Yeah, she's got it made. So.
Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time before WWE drops his ass and he goes to AEW.
Oh, dude. Oh, don't.
He's such a big loss by them.
Yeah.
It would be such a big loss by them because that is one of their biggest assets right now in NXT.
I'm not gonna be surprised at anything that happens at this point.
I know.
Right over there is my Adam Cole shirt. Right over there.
That was a big shocker. New AEW World Champion. I think well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, I like her gimmick. She's good in the ring. I like Hikaru Shida. And I'm glad they didn't have her drop the belt too early.
Yeah,
like she held it for a good long time. I think it was good. That's a good time to drop it. And to somebody who's, had an unfortunate injury and, it's not like she was out. She would have been in the title picture, I'm sure, before now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, deserved. Yeah, I'm about it.
What do you think, Rob?
I agree. I mean, Britt Baker's one of their top women wrestlers, and I feel like all the women wrestlers are excellent. There's no, I don't think anyone there is like, oh, well, you're there just for looks. I think each one of them can go. Britt Baker being, like you were saying, she, if she didn't get hurt, she'd probably be up there, top 3-4 women wrestlers. I feel like she's someone who's always going to be in like the title contention picture. So I'm cool with that. I like her attitude. I like how she definitely is doing the whole like, I'm a doctor, and you make sure you mention that, and I like that. It gives her that heel kind of heat. So I'm cool with it.
I like it, man. I like it. My favorite tag team right now in AEW. I knew they were going to be a great match when I first saw him arrive, when I first saw him debut in AEW. Sting and Darby Allin.
Yes.
Versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Man, I mean, Sting and Darby Allin is a match made from the wrestling gods right there, dude.
Yes.
I mean, they both have the makeup. The gimmicks are really similar. I love it.
I love Sting. I've always loved Sting since I was in middle school.
Fucking WCW days right there, man.
Yep. Right when Crow Sting was just coming to be.
His iconic feud with the NWO, it's great.
And I like Scorpio Sky and I like Ethan Page. I fucking love Darby Allin. Like, he's definitely my top 10 or 5 wrestlers currently, possibly of all time. I mean, it's just he's got to, I got to see more of him over time to see where he fits in. But I love his gimmick, and I love his gimmick because it's a gimmick, but it's just him. It's not like he's, he does the corpse paint-ish looking paint,
the kind of two-faced look,
Yeah, it's that like punk, but it's that punk rock. Yeah. It's not him trying to be a gimmick. The gimmick is him. The gimmick is just, it's not supposed to be like supernatural or anything. It's not supposed to be over the top. I don't have a problem with that. But if they had done that, or he had done that, like, it's kind of like he's been a rising star on the indies, that Danhausen. I think he's hilarious.
Right.
But and he's done his own thing too. Like, I appreciate how he's done it, but like, there's that preconceived notion that if you have paint on and you do a gimmick like that, you get kind of put in this box by people.
Yeah.
And I like that Darby Allin has just been like, I'm that punk kid who will do crazy shit, and I don't care. I'm going to skateboard to the ring. I'm going to hit people with my fucking skateboard.
Yeah.
Like, he's hardcore without needing to be like Moxley or, guys like that who are like, actually, I mean, he's just as hardcore, like, in terms of what he's done.
Right.
But he doesn't have to be like blood and guts hardcore, barbed wire thumbtacks to be just as hardcore.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the Hardy Boys side of hardcore.
I like that.
He just jumps off of crazy shit and fights like 4 guys at once. And like, I love that. And
then to team him up with Sting on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's a match made in heaven.
That's like the fucking legend teaching the fucking rookie, you know what I mean? But like, it's not even like he's not even a rookie status anymore, dude.
To put it in WWE terms, what I would have liked to see in WWE is what I wanted them to do. That is the same kind of thing that I wanted WWE to do with Aleister Black and Undertaker.
Perfect.
Have him take him under his wing. Because Darby Allin hasn't lost his identity.
No.
Since he's been put with Sting.
Yeah.
Sting's just taken him under his wing and mentored him, and like, it's given Darby Allin even more to.
Not
more
to mention
tools.
though, that's probably been a big influence on Darby Allin coming up in the business. You know what I mean? Like he's probably been someone who he's always kind of watched and looked up to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's the icon, man. Like, how you can't go wrong with that. Darby, this is the way I guess I see him. I used to, in my younger days, I had some friends who skated, and these guys were crazy, but they were crazy at like the drop of a dime. And I feel like that's Darby to a T. And I like it. It's a different kind of crazy. Like you were saying, it's not like that Moxley crazy where I'm going to get a barbed wire. It's just, like you said, I'm going to jump into this crowd of guys. And it shows variety. It gives you variety as far as it's not blood and guts crazy all the time. Sometimes it's, I'm going to run at you crazy. Sometimes I'm going to truck you crazy kind of thing. So yeah. I like that team. Let me tell you guys a little story real quick. Quick story. So
did you meet Darby Allin too?
No.
He's met a lot of people, and I was like, did you meet Darby on an indie show too?
Even better. So I like to be at the gym every morning, 4 a.m., clanging and banging, right?
Clanging and banging.
So one day I'm at the gym, just clanging and banging, getting my reps in, 300 pounds on each arm. And I look over and I see this other guy who's doing about as much weight as me. I'm like, this guy's trying to show me up. So I kind of stand up, I go over there, and I'm staring at Scorpio Sky right in the face. And I'm like, oh, wow. How you doing? I know who you are. He looked at me. We locked eyes. He's like, he kind of like knew I knew who he was. And I was like, Scorpio Sky? And he's just like, how you doing? So I got to get a little workout with him. Couple reps. That was it.
I'm the only loser in this fucking podcast who hasn't met anybody. Or, it's like, what the fuck?
You will.
You got fucking Rampage meeting one of the Bucks and all these other wrestlers at indie shows. You got fucking Rob working out with Scorpio Sky, and I'm over here like, hey guys, I watch wrestling too.
Once you go to an indie show and you start going, they'll be there and you'll get to meet all because all these guys, and I'm sure Rampage can attest, all these guys we meet pretty much like at indie shows or just happen to run into the Young Bucks at Disneyland. That's just pure luck right there. That's awesome.
Wrestlers, the coolest, most down to earth people you will ever meet.
Yeah.
The only thing close to a wrestler interaction I've gotten was a retweet and quote from CM Punk.
Yeah, it's good enough.
And it was because it was around the time Ash versus Evil Dead was on. First season just ended. He tweeted something, and I'm like, I tweeted something back, and he liked it, and then he tweeted something back to me, and I was like, good enough for me.
There you go. CM Punk has never retweeted anything that I've stated. So Anthony, you have the step up upon me when it comes to CM Punk. I've seen Scorpio Sky. I like the dude. I think he's very athletic. I think he's like a bowling ball. Like the dude is just built and he can go. He's a high flyer. So I like his style. Ethan Page, again, I got to see him on the indie scene, so I've grown with this dude. I like the way he comes off as far as his personality and the way he goes in ring. He almost reminds me a little bit of a Christian Cage almost. Maybe not as seasoned, but just I see little flashes of Christian Cage. I like both these guys. Well, I like all four of these guys because they're it's the icon on the other side. So I mean that's Sting right there. So you can't go wrong there. And I'm glad to see these older wrestlers that I kind of grew up with. I feel like in WWE, they would bring them back and they would kind of put them in the forefront. And I don't know whether or not they wanted to be in these main storylines or not, but I like what they're doing in AEW where they're bringing them back and it's, they're putting them with people who not that Darby needs a push or anything, or he needs help, but it definitely kind of attaches you to him a little more because it's like, oh well, he's with Sting, and that's cool, and they look alike and they're awesome. They kind of go well together, and I could see them doing this together. So I think they do a good job of bringing legends in and kind of incorporating them into the roster that they have. So I'm a thumbs up for both these.
You're all in.
Yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in.
AEW World Championship match, triple threat, Kenny Omega, Pac, and Orange Cassidy, man. I mean, three wrestlers that especially Orange Cassidy, dude. That guy is just a fucking legend.
Yes.
But this was a match made in heaven right here, and I'm pretty sure it was a solid one at that. Kenny Omega obviously successfully retained his title. But I'm liking this Kenny Omega heel turn right now, dude, with the whole Good Brother. That's another person I
so good as a heel.
Yeah, I mean, it's another person that I since I started watching him, I haven't seen him be a heel. It's all been a face character since I started, paying attention to him. He's probably
you gotta go back and watch his Japan stuff.
Yeah,
like when he first got brought into
when he's like the cleaner.
Yeah, the cleaner.
Right. So I mean, I can't wait to see where these three go. Obviously, with Jungle Boy having a future AEW championship match, it's possible it could be against Kenny Omega at the next pay-per-view or something. Or
I think they said that it's gonna be Jungle Boy and Omega this week or next week. I can't remember.
Oh, so they're gonna do it on AEW. That's another thing I like about that. They will have big title matches on their shows.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps people tuning in because you want to see that. The match that I think took the entire show was the final main event match, Stadium Stampede. Can't go wrong with the Stadium Stampede match. We saw it last year. Freaking greatness right there. People were getting hit by cars. People were freaking going all over the stadium. It was great. The Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. Inner Circle, hands down, one of my favorite factions right now. Chris Jericho leading it. You have Jake Hager. You have Sammy Guevara, Santana and Ortiz, man. I mean, these guys are just fucking on top of their game right now. You have the Pinnacle led by MJF. Fucking dickhead right now, But
he's the best old school heel.
Yeah, plays the character amazing. Yeah,
he hasn't dropped kayfabe in like 4 years.
Yeah, and then, you bring that up because I watch another podcast, and one of the guys who hosts this podcast goes up and talks to him, and he didn't like him, and so he keeps that character like I'm not gonna sign anything for him, not gonna do it, just get him away from me. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Was it Van Skillet?
Chris Van
Vliet.
Something like.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just not get him away from me. I'm not doing anything for him. Stadium Stampede match. The stakes were high on this one. Inner Circle, if they lost, they had to disband, but they didn't lose, and they're still together. However, this past Friday on Dynamite, Inner Circle said, "Yeah, the victory was great, but how much did we really accomplish on that one? Because we still got to walk by those guys every week. We still got to see them. We still got to hear them. So this rivalry is far from over." I am loving the whole Inner Circle and the Pinnacle thing. MJF had his little run with the Inner Circle. didn't quite work out at all. He actually ended up turning his back on them. And to kind of throw it in the face of the Inner Circle, started his own group, the Pinnacle, basically saying we're better than you. A lot of good talent on that as well. Where do we see this is going this summer, man? I'm hoping a lot of good rivalry matches, man.
There's gonna be more crazy gimmick matches, I'm sure. I love that MJF is so old school with how he does it, and just is always in full kayfabe. Doesn't matter whether you're 50, whether you're 5, like. And I love how, and I get worked up, and I have to go. He's doing his job, like, by the fact that I'm getting irritated at it. Because people get so fucking worked up about the shit he does, and I'm like, he's in character. Like, his character, like, I'm sure behind closed doors off camera, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I've actually have like seen like one snippet of a shoot interview with him where he is not in kayfabe at all. But like, everybody got so worked up with him flipping off like a 6-year-old, and I'm like, he's a fucking heel. Like, we haven't had someone who does that. Like you know, the Undertaker lived his gimmick, but even the last few years, even though he's the Undertaker and tries to keep as
also, you're a 6-year-old watching AEW. You shouldn't be watching AEW. Go back to WWE. This is TV 14.
I'm all for kids. Like, I don't care, as long as the parents are teaching them that this is entertainment. Anybody can watch or do anything within reason. So I don't care that little kids come to like haunt. Like, I'll scare a little kid as long as they're not being a little shit, and I'll like be mean about it, but I'll definitely like punk them out, and I'll give them props.
Like, I'll scare a little kid. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't fucking care.
That's what he's getting paid
like,
to
I
do.
was fucking with when I worked the show as Evil's manager, when he was in full Evil the Clown and I was in full Rampage with my jumpsuit and everything. Like, I was fucking with the little kids. I literally, one of his balloons popped as he got into the ring, because he went to give the little kids a bunch of the balloons and let go. And when he was handing the sliders the balloons, because they were all there supporting us, I was popping the balloons with them, because I knew that they weren't going to get like too heated about it.
Yeah.
Like, he told me only pop theirs. I'm like, all right. Well, when the balloon popped as he got in the ring, I went and grabbed the balloon. I'm like, there you go, there's your balloon, and gave it to little kid. Like, I don't care like about like little kids. You know what? The only thing that I have a problem with, and it's not a problem, but it came up because of the show, which I'll get into when we get to it. But deathmatch wrestling, like, little kids should not be front row at deathmatch wrestling shows. I don't care who it is. Like, I was like concerned for my well-being in 36, and I wasn't even like front row. Like, I was in a relatively safe spot. I was close, but I was in a relatively safe spot. Kind of the ring post was kind of guarding us to a degree. And like, I was getting hit with glass. I'm like, these like fucking, they were like 4-year-olds that were there. I'm like, no, that's not okay. Little kid getting flipped off by MJF for him being a heel, I'm okay fine with that.
Yeah.
Now, parents should also be fine with that, because they should know it's kayfabe, but that's on them. That's their parenting. I'm not going to judge.
Yep.
Except that they made too big a stink, and I'm kind of judging, but it's all right.
Man, that's great. Go ahead, Rob.
I like this. It's been a while since we've had factions going against each other. So I like it. And I think Jericho and MJF, they do a good job as far as playing off each other, and I think their teams do a good job of kind of playing off their leader. So I think that we're going, like you were saying, we're gonna get more. I don't think it full on. Maybe 6 months down the line, we might get like another big faction fight. But I think until then, we're probably going to get maybe one-on-one, different stipulation kind of matches, or a tag team stipulation kind of match, leading up to, Yeah, leading up to like a big, another Pinnacle versus Inner Circle kind of thing. But Jericho's the man, dude. This guy is just he talks, he can go, he's one of my favorite wrestlers, just all time. I think the guy's just awesome. And he just his control in the ring. I said it before, his control in the ring, whether it's on the mic or whether it's a crowd or whether it's going as far as wrestling, this guy's just the epitome of what a professional wrestler is. And anything he's in, I'm gonna watch.
I've always said it, man. You can give Jericho any fucking gimmick. It could be the stupidest fucking gimmick in the world, and he could make that shit work.
Oh, yeah.
He really can. Like, you can give him any gimmick in the world, and he'll make it work, and he'll please the crowd, and they will love that gimmick. Did you really think, if you would have gave anyone else that list gimmick, wouldn't have worked. Wouldn't have 100%. Worked.
Yeah.
But you give it to Jericho, and he knows how to fucking roll with it.
And you just made the list.
You just made the list. Boom. Like, that list gimmick was by far, I think, one of his best gimmicks he ever had in WWE.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was the funniest shit every week.
And he knows how to reinvent himself, too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He just takes something, picks something. He's like, this will work, and just goes. And that's half of it, is just going all in on it, pun intended.
Yep.
Like, just, you can't hesitate. And he doesn't. He just goes, boom, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to sell it like I believe it, because I do. And it works because he believes it. And you can read that off.
It was cool. The last Friday too, they gave the entire audience and presence Stadium Stampede t-shirts for free. Everyone had one. It was like an Oprah Winfrey thing. Look under your chair, you get a t-shirt, you get a t-shirt, everyone gets a t-shirt.
You know what's funny though, you just reminded me of that, is when Britt Baker came out and she was like, oh, I'm giving everyone coupons for, I forgot, it was like a burger place or something. And then she's like, look underneath your chair. And everyone went to look, but she was like, oh no, like she had all the coupons up there with her. And she's like, you guys don't deserve it. Like, I was just like, yeah, that's hilarious.
So yeah, Inner Circle, man, I'm excited to see what happens with them this summer. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
Let's wrap up some AEW news. Big debuts happening within the last couple weeks. Within last week, Andrade debuted. Vicky Guerrero.
That was big.
Yeah, Vicky Guerrero brings him out. Debuts. I'm excited to see the future for Andrade and AEW.
Well, that's double interesting because he challenged Kenny Omega for the AAA heavyweight title down in Mexico. And I think that's coming up. I don't remember when exactly.
Again, AEW working with other companies. I love it. It's going to be good. That's good promotion for everyone. I keep saying it. Oh, it's great promotion for everyone.
Well, especially if they start bringing some of the luchadors. I don't know who's still wrestling that I actually know, but at least for AAA. But like, they got some great talent down there.
I mean, I've always loved luchador wrestling. That's where you get a lot of your high flyers right there.
Oh yeah,
like, and that's where the most entertaining matches come from.
People forget that even Japan. Guys like Hayabusa.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Ultimo Dragon. The ton of guys even now that are. I mean, even the guys like Kenny Omega, go to Japan, and if they're signed with like New Japan and the young boys, as they call them, they get sent to the affiliates like AAA in Mexico to learn lucha style and to learn different styles. So, Hayabusa, that's how he got his mask, was he got sent to Mexico and was put under a mask and then turned into, what we know Hayabusa as now.
Right. Man, Andrade though, man, that was just a big shocker this week, man. I could not believe that. I mean, it's always the ongoing joke. Anyone who departs from WWE is going to end up in AEW. So, was I surprised? Not 100%, but at the same time, it still shocked me enough that I was like, "Wow, that was quick." Like, they must have had a contract ready for him.
I was like 75% surprised.
Yeah.
I was only really surprised because of the fact that he was going to be wrestling in Mexico.
Right.
He's going back to Mexico. He's going to challenge for the AAA world title. So, like, him to like not even have an inkling that he was even going to appear on AEW.
Right.
Like they hadn't mentioned that challenge as far as I've seen anywhere on their social medias or anything. It was just kind of there.
Good stuff. What do you think, Rob?
Oh yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of Andrade. I think he's an excellent wrestler. As far as I had a feeling he was eventually going to come there, and not so much that surprise. I was more when I heard the announcement, I was more excited because I feel like with WWE, they have a show to run, and they kind of people got to go into their narrative, and I was just more excited for Andrade to be like, okay, well, here the handcuffs are going to come off. Let's see what this guy can, really do. And he, again, this guy can wrestle. He's an excellent wrestler. So, I was excited for him to be in AEW.
It's gonna be a fun time.
He took to the American style really well. Like he blended the American style in really well.
Right. I think it's gonna be a fun time, man. I can't wait to see what happens with him and to see what he does in Mexico as well, man. I mean, the guy's a great talent, and that was a huge loss for WWE. So, the kid's got a bright future ahead of him. The biggest news, though, which is getting a lot of fans talking, hopefully for one more match. Mark Henry, man, the world's strongest man. That was another big shock for me.
Yeah, that one.
That one got me. That one got me,
dude. I mean, even when freaking Paul White came, dude, that one got me. You know what I mean? And, Mark Henry now part of the AEW team. It's going to be one of the analysts for Friday Night Rampage, man. And he's also teased, this is what really got me excited, he's got a lot left in the tank to do matches. So,
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great talents that are in that company that he's probably never even had the chance to work with yet that can easily be 5-star matches. So, I'm excited for that. Can't wait. AEW's killing it. I'm going to end the show right here with Rampage. Talk to us about your indie show, man, and then we'll call it quits after that.
Yeah, man. So this last weekend, unfortunately, the second day, I missed most of the second day because the time on the flyers was a little funky. Wasn't entirely clear, but it was the tribute show for Supreme, who, in case people, for those who don't know, Supreme was a wrestler for XPW out of LA, and was multi-time king of the death match. XPW was, I guess, I don't know how to describe it, kind of ECW-esque, but more along the lines of like CZW or IWA Mid-South, where their focus was more the blood and guts and shock value. XPW, I know, has
Heyman just talked about him a couple weeks ago too. Didn't he pay tribute to him recently?
I think so. Well, there's been quite a few because he ended up not. He was one of the ones. I mean, he still is kind of lumped into that like garbage wrestling box that a lot of people like to lump deathmatch wrestlers into. But he kind of broke out of that to a degree. Some of that was because of Santino Brothers. His nephew, I think. Yeah. Joey Chaos has just done such a great job just killing it with the wrestling school. And Supreme was a trainer there too. So he really did break out of that to a degree. Plus he also started traveling. Like he just got inducted this weekend into GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, into their Deathmatch Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And he was already just inducted into he got inducted into the Southern California Deathmatch Hall of Fame, or Wrestling Hall of Fame, I think it was a week before he passed away last year, something like that, or a month before. But this show was supposed to happen all the way back,
pre-pandemic, right?
Right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then it got postponed, and then it got postponed to fall, and they still couldn't because, I mean, it's taking place in LA. Right. So they
anyone that doesn't know, Los Angeles, California was very strict during the thing. I mean, I, for one, it didn't bother me because rather safe than sorry. But it was a very strict time from summer to January.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it is what it is, anyways. Like it's
Right.
like just kind of deal with what you got to deal with, and I understood.
Yeah.
Like I was bummed out, but I understood.
Yeah.
And it just so worked out that when things started getting lightened up, restriction wise, they were able to postpone it to Supreme's birthday. The tournament, the deathmatch tournament, was on Supreme's birthday.
Awesome.
On May 30th, and then the other half of the show was on the 29th, which my birthday is on May 31st, so it was perfect. I was like, they couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah.
But so my brother and I were able to go. We tried to. I mean, tickets were so limited that I jumped on them right away, and they were sold out before the end of the week. Like it was crazy. And I've never seen a death match in person, like a proper death match. I've done backyard wrestling, and we've done a little bit of light tubes and thumbtacks and stuff, but nothing crazy, nothing like a true death match. I mean, I can't even describe like it was gnarly. And I think let me bring up the matches, because I did look up the full thing. So I'd never heard of some of these wrestlers before, but it's funny. My friend is a manager for in the SoCal scene, and the guy he was managing, because he used to be a wrestler, and then he got a few injuries and had some concussion related injuries, and had to retire for a while.
But wanted to stick with the business, huh?
Yeah, he was still involved here and there, and then he got cleared, but he decided not to push it pretty much. I haven't talked to him a lot because we just are kind of like distant friends, since he lives up in LA somewhere. So it's kind of far. It's not like we could hang out even if we talked all the time.
Yeah.
But like the guy he seconded and the guy that is his guy was facing, I'd never heard of them. And like right away, it was already like getting into hardcore. The dude is a deathmatch wrestler from the East Coast, and like Abdullah the Butcher, the other guy with a fork and shit. I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm already like seeing new stuff that I'm down with. Let's see this. Because everything the first day. This was the one that bummed me out. I didn't know that it was a fans bring the violence match, but I didn't know that meant that fans bring the weapons. So I didn't bring anything. I was like, fuck, I could have had I would have done some weird shit. And I'm like, all right, next time I go to one of these shows, I'm making sure, because they, like most of it, like they had a couple of those bug zappers,
right?
Which I'd never seen in a death match. I was like,
fuck,
this is fucking ridiculous. But somebody made a board. I'm talking like a 3 foot by 3 foot board of like hero clicks.
Interesting.
Like the figures,
yeah.
And my brother are like, the fuck are those? And it took us forever. I'm like, I think those are hero clicks. What the fuck? Dude, that shit looked so gnarly. When they took the first bump on them, I'm like, oh my Lord.
You thought stepping on Legos were bad. Fuck.
I'm talking like it's, a plywood, full plywood board,
right.
3 or 4 feet long. Full. Every single free space was just covered. And I'm like, and it was, I'd heard of Fern Owens, but I'd never seen him wrestle. I had heard of Terex, and I have seen him wrestle. And he's gnarly because he's like fucking something like 350 or more, 400, something like that. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
And he can moonsault, like standing moonsault.
Right.
Nice.
But he's a big death match guy. And the third guy, if this guy doesn't get big, I'm telling you now, I mark my words, this guy is gonna at least in the like indie scenes, go places. Because I know or at least he seems fairly young. I started following him on Instagram and had a little interaction with him. Hunter Freeman, this dude, like when he came in, I was like, I saw him kind of walking around the building before the event properly started. I'm like, the fuck is this guy? Like, not like in a bad way, but just like he's this kind of like skinny younger guy, kind of a redneck gimmick. Like, didn't look anything. Dude, this guy can go.
Wow.
And like he's hitting moves. I posted a video of him on my Instagram. That dude is legit and not at all a big name yet, and I will be astonished if he doesn't go places. That was also the first match that had light tubes.
Fuck.
And like big like 4 of them duct taped together. I forgot how fucking loud those are because the first hit was on the other side of the ring from us, and it was like I could feel it. It was very intense.
Damn, dude. That is nuts.
Well, and the great thing about this show was that there was, even day one, there was a lot of deathmatch and like hardcore stuff, but they had a tag team gauntlet match, and like some of the names were guys I've heard of, at least in the indie scene. Like I know the Heavy Hitters. I know one of the guys from that. Three Ring Circus. One of the guys from that I've heard of. But there was this other team, and it's the same thing. The guys who ended up winning are called Street Trash. Before the match, another XPW legend who was there to pay tribute to Supreme, Homeless Jimmy, came out and announced his retirement. Had a little segment with the Crimson Crown Wrestling champion, Gino. I forget his fucking current gimmick name. I met him before he had that gimmick, so I always get him confused. But he had a little segment, and he introduced this new team that he was going to manage. He was going to still be involved with the business. He just wasn't an active wrestler anymore.
Right.
And it's these two like street punk looking, like one kind of looks like a really skinny version of Evil. Like I was like, okay, I like these guys. Dude, those guys can go.
Wow.
And it was nice to see this, like, I guess, normal wrestling in the midst of all this, like, mayhem, because, dude, it got gnarly.
Yeah. Sounds like it
Like,
did, man.
The second to last match, and that's everything else, like, I could go into forever, because, it was just a hell of a show.
Right.
It was a hell of a show because everyone was paying tribute to Supreme. It was very emotional for everybody because there were a lot of his students involved. And it was being, run by his daughter's husband, who's also been in the scene for quite a while. But I'm sure you might have heard of her, Sage Sin.
Name sounds familiar.
She's very involved in the like haunt scene too.
Okay.
The Pumpkin Queen.
Okay.
It's kind of why I changed my what I referred to myself as away from the Pumpkin King.
Yeah.
As I started to get to know the like that area of the wrestling and haunt scene, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move away from that. But it was her and BC Killer, who was one of Supreme's students, I believe. Versus, I had heard his name before, but I had never seen him wrestle. He's another deathmatch guy from the East Coast, John Wayne Murdoch. And this guy, Akira. And dude, that match was absolute chaos. Like, I mean, just the amount of like at one point, like they're all on the outside, and like John Wayne Murdoch and Sage Sin are somewhere over here to the left, and it's like you just like everybody stands up and crowds around them.
Right.
That's kind of what happens at deathmatch shows, from what I've gathered. So they're over here, and like he's slamming her into like shit, and she's like hitting him with shit, and like there's chairs flying, and like Akira and BC Killer over here, like direct. I'm talking like 5 feet in front of us, and like you're just seeing like light tubes, like glasses flying like over here, and like glasses flying over here, and tables. Like it was like I have like 3 minutes or 5 minutes or something of video where it's like there's so much going on, it's hard to focus on, but in a good way.
Right.
I've been to, like, I think probably nowhere near as many as Rob, but well, definitely nowhere near as many as Rob. But I've been to a few WWE shows. I've been to a good handful of Santino Brothers shows, and done a bunch of like private match tapings for Santino Brothers and for my friends. And a deathmatch show is nothing like any of those.
Fuck.
Like good death match, and I don't know about like some of the like older death matches like IWA and stuff.
Right.
Like it's entertaining on tape. I don't know how those come off in person, but like Crimson Crown put on a hell of a show, and I know some of it was just not having been able to put on anything for so long.
Yeah.
But some of it was also, putting on a good show for Supreme. But dude, next deathmatch show, you have got to go.
Yeah. Sounds fun. I'm down.
Dude, it's so much fun. It's like even the bad stuff was good. And like there was like moments like during that tag match, like right when it started, John Wayne Murdoch and Sage Sin were the two to start the match in the ring.
Right.
Fucking, there was a seat open in front of us, and Akira just came and like, because he's like yelling at, like in character, like in gimmick, yelling at John Wayne Murdoch to like tag out and to do this and that, and he's like just doing his thing. He's just wrestling in the ring. So Akira just gets off the apron and just sits right down next to it. He's like, fucking never listens, and like just talk.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And you've got like barbed wire boards in the ring, and they're like still like just like it's the craziest shit. I never like, I liked deathmatch wrestling, but I never really understood the people who like were diehards about it.
Right.
Understood that like indie wrestling, like I understood that side of it, because that's where I come from. But after going to the deathmatch shows, and like the next day we still caught the finals, and we caught like two other matches. Which another one that I know is a bigger name, but his name is Schlack. That dude is absolutely fucking insane. Like he is almost as jacked as Brian Cage,
right.
Like just in terms of just a huge dude, full tattoos. He's got a Chaos Star like half tattooed on his face. Like he looks like someone you don't want to fuck with. He had a match with John Wayne Murdoch that was cinder blocks and light tubes.
Oh,
and like
fuck.
2 seconds in, like it didn't even take 2 seconds. Fucking John Wayne Murdoch just boom with a light tube baton, a kendo stick.
You let me know when the next one is. We're all going.
Dude, we're all going.
We're all going.
You will have the time.
First fucking beers on me.
Well, and dude, Schlack, so a kendo, the kendo stick, it's how it's made of, it's meant to bend.
Yeah.
So that was what they had the light tubes around. So they busted the 4 light tubes around the kendo stick early on.
Fuck.
He tosses, I don't remember exactly how it happened. He tosses John Wayne Murdoch out. He's on the floor. he gets out of the ring in front of us, and he's like, I mean, he's dead in front of us, 5 feet away, maybe 6 feet away. And he grabs it off the apron as he's walking by. And he just goes, ah, boom, breaks it clean in half.
Dang.
Like I've seen it done in WWE, but usually it's like crack.
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 times before he just goes, boom, snaps it clean in 2. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
Oh man.
It is a whole different world. Like, like I said, that's why, like, kids, if you're gonna bring your kids to those kind of shows,
sit in the back
or give them fucking goggles or something.
Wear like fucking face shield protector,
something. Because like my brother and I are sitting there, and like we already knew it was funny because every time like somebody grabbed a light tube, like whatever section was directly in line with it, you just saw everybody scramble away. And like all of us were just like, oh shit.
That's great, dude.
Like literally the second I wore like safety glasses that like look like normal, like just like sunglasses with clear lenses.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not getting any fucking glass in my eye.
Yeah.
Even when they were hitting it on the opposite side, the glass was hitting the ropes and flying to the other side of the room. Like it is the punk rock shit.
Dude.
It's fucking great.
I'm there, man. Yeah. So 5 suplexes out of 5 suplexes, would you say?
Absolutely. I wouldn't even put it like, it's hard to even put a scale on it. It's just, it is madness.
Madness in the making, man. That is great. I love it. Wow. Episode 1. I mean, I told you we were going to go easily almost like fucking 4 hours with this podcast. This was a 2.5 hour episode or second part, but I can promise you guys next week we're going to make it so the whole show is max 2 hours, 2.5 hours, even an hour and a half. We're working out gimmicks. We're working out everything, all the kinks. So stay tuned. Planet Wrestling's just getting started. We love what we talk about. Next week, Rob and I and potentially Rampage are all going to an indie show. So you'll hear about that on next week's episode. We're going to try to just pick up the snippets of our favorite moments of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW. Until then, I'm your host, Anthony. That's Rob. That's Rampage. And we are the Planet Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.